So why do you need to make a will? Unfortunately, 35% of the population have a will. That means 65% don't. I'm sure whilst you're alive, you have told people what you want to be done when you die, how you want your funeral going, and where you want your belongings going. But without making a will, that does not happen. It follows what's called the rules of intestacy. This is where the law decides where your estate goes once you pass. And that might not be who you want your belongings going to. So you should make a will to ensure that your wishes are met. So how much does a will cost? Some people think that it costs a lot to go to see a solicitor and make a will, but that isn't always the case. There's a wide array of wills and other types of wish documents that you can make. Here, we work on a fixed fee basis and we meet with you, take your instructions, understand what you're wanting, and we advise you based on whether it's a simple will, whether we can do a mirror will that's for you and a spouse, or for more complex wills such as incorporating a trust or a right to reside in a property for your spouse or someone else upon your death. You should speak to your solicitor that you intend to go to get an idea of cost before going forward, and maybe shop around a bit because prices do vary. So what do you need to consider when you're making a will? There's 3 things that we advise. The first being beneficiaries, the second executors and trustees, and the third guardianship. First, we'll talk about beneficiaries. These are the people that you want your estate being passed to, the people that you want to gift your property to. And you should think about who you want it going to. Is it going to one person in its entirety? Is it being split up between a number of people? And if so, are they getting equal shares or unequal shares? This is something you and your solicitor can speak about and make what's best for you. What you also have to consider is what happens if one of those beneficiaries passes before you. Do you have your estate passing to the rest of the beneficiaries as it's already written? Or do you have a backup that if one person passes, it will pass to their next of kin, such as you passing it to your child, and if they pass before you, passing it to a grandchild? Second, executors and trustees. These are the people that administer your will and your final wishes, but they do 2 very different jobs. The executors are the people that you trust to carry out your final wishes as it's written in the will. They will distribute your estate as per your will and administer all the documents to bring about your wishes. Once that's done, their job's done and the estate's wound up. Trustees are slightly different, and that comes about from when there's a condition attached to the distribution of the estate, such as you saying, I want to give this person that amount of money when they become 18. Until they become 18, the trustee will look after that money for them, and when they hit 18, they will distribute the funds to the beneficiary and their job will be done. Thirdly, guardianship. This might not apply to everyone, and this is where you have a child under the age of 18. You want to write in your will who, if anyone else with parental responsibility has passed, and you are the last person that cares for that child, who looks after the child going forward. The main thing to think about with guardianship is maintaining stability and familiarity for the child. You don't want to send them miles away to family they haven't seen, but at the same time you may not want to leave them with the next door neighbour. You should choose someone that you trust and who you think will care for your child the best once you're gone. What should you expect when making a will? Firstly, we'll speak to you about what you want to put in your will and figure out how best to write that. We like to do this in a room by yourself, not for any reason other than to make sure that you are speaking openly and freely without the worry of other people overhearing you and any animosity coming off whilst you're making the will. We will then prepare the will and send it out for your approval. You can then come back into the office where we can complete it. That is where we get it signed and witnessed and make sure it's all legally binding. Or we can post it out to you if you don't have time to pop in because your life might just be too busy. Then you can send it back to us and we will make sure that everything's fine. If it's not, we'll get back in touch with you and we can tie up any loose ends there. What you can then expect once it's made is for us to retain the original for you, and we do that free of charge. That way you know that if anything happens, if you move house, if you have a leak, your important document isn't going to get lost or destroyed, and we have a copy here ready for when it's needed. And we do supply you with a copy of it, so you know that you have it at home, just in case. We like to use plain English so that you understand what you want as much as we understand what we've written. There are sometimes legal terminology that's needed to make sure it is legally binding, but we can explain that fully to you. And once all of that's done, we've dotted the I's, crossed the T's, it's just a matter of you holding on to it and letting us know if you need to update it in the future in case anything else happens. Keep an eye out for Step 1's Make a Will Week and for any advice on wills or other services we can provide you and your loved ones, contact Scott Richards on the details provided.